What I'm about to share with you is something that you need to take very seriously, because when it comes to taking supplements, a lot of people just overlook at this and think, oh, it's a supplement. It's no big deal. There's no harm to it. That is wrong, because there is certain supplements that can cause more damage than good. And in this case, these 5 popular supplements definitely can cause more damage to your ADHD and make your ADHD even worse than it is. Now, there's a bit of caveat here. There's that saying, basically, one man's poison is another man's medicine. That's true with any supplement, but I'm really going to show you why you might need to start avoiding these particular supplements depending on your situation. And the very first popular supplement, it's gained a lot of clout and a lot of traction over this past year. And it's something that I've even tested and used for 30 days and used it with some of my patients, and that is Methylene Blue. Now, Methylene Blue, I get there's a lot of benefits to Methylene Blue, but when it comes to if you have ADHD and if you are taking a stimulant medication, so like Adderall, Ritalin, or you're taking like an antidepressant, so like an SSRI, this is where you have to be really careful when it comes to taking Methylene Blue. The reason being is because Methylene Blue has been known to increase serotonin. You might think, okay, great. Don't we want that? Yes, but if you are taking an SSRI, it can cause serotonin levels to spike too much, and this will lead into serotonin syndrome. This is a situation you definitely don't want to be in. You're going to feel agitated, irritated. You're going to start having hallucinations, and you can end up having mental breakdowns, all sorts of bad stuff that will make your ADHD even worse. But not only that, it has been known to also interact with all sorts of different medications, especially when it comes to any kind of mental health medications like ADHD medications, anxiety medications, antidepressants. So if you're on any of those, this is where you got to be really careful. Definitely check with your doctor first before even considering this. The next really popular supplement that I see people take just randomly, not knowing what they're doing, is 5-HTP. Now, 5-HTP can have benefits, but when it comes to ADHD, this is where I have a problem with it. If, for example, you already have high levels of serotonin and you take 5-HTP, that also can contribute to serotonin syndrome. It can cause that. But the other reason of why to be really careful with this and probably avoid taking this is that if you have low levels of dopamine and you take 5-HTP, it kind of does the opposite effect. It can actually impact the dopamine pathway in a negative way, and therefore making your ADHD symptoms even worse, where you're not focused, motivated, or driven. Now, where it is beneficial, and this is where I will use the exception of using it, is one, you're not taking a medication, because it also has been known to interact with things like Adderall, Ritalin, and can make things worse because it interacts with those types of medications. But where I'm fine using it, if I have a patient that's not necessarily on a medication and I've done some lab testing to see, okay, is their serotonin levels low to begin with, or their 5-HTP levels are low, so it makes sense to supplement that, but also at the same time, is their dopamine levels at a healthy level? Or if I find that they're both low, then where the research has proven and shown this, and I've seen it from firsthand experience, is where I'll supplement both 5-HTP and also tyrosine, because tyrosine will help still continue support the dopamine pathway, and so that the 5-HTP won't negatively impact dopamine. So that's where you beneficially can use it, but you're not going to know this until you really truly can know where your levels are at in order to use this effectively and not doing more damage to your ADHD. Now, the third popular supplement that definitely you got to be really cautious about, and this is if you're also taking an antidepressant and also taking Adderall or Ritalin, is St. Johns Wort. Now, St. John Wort, it can be beneficial if you're not taking a medication, but if you are taking those types of medication, it can interact with that and also cause serotonin syndrome. So I generally do not recommend this one because a lot of patients that I'm working with, they're usually on a medication. The only time that I might recommend it is if someone's not on any medication and they have mild depression, then there's some benefit to that. Now, I get this a lot of stuff to remember, so you should download my complete supplement ADHD guide in the description below. It talks about all the different supplements, how to think about it, how to dose it, how to be careful with it. So that's in the description below to give you that full guide that I use with all my patients and clients. Now, the fourth very popular supplement is something you probably use on a regular basis, especially if you're really sick, your immune system was down, and you were recommended this supplement to improve your immune system. And that is vitamin C, especially doing it at a very high dose. The thing you have to be careful here, and this is only really for people who are taking medications. So if you are taking Adderall or Ritalin, what vitamin C or ascorbic acid has been known, it can decrease the effectiveness of your medication. So therefore, it's going to make your ADHD worse because it decreases the effectiveness of your medication. But also, it's been known to interact with other mental health medications that usually if I recommend vitamin C, especially if I do see that their vitamin C levels are low, then what I'll typically do, especially if my patients are taking their medication first thing in the morning, then I'll recommend taking the vitamin C more like at nighttime. In fact, that can be really beneficial because if you are still a little wired at night because of your medication, that can be an effective way to help you sleep better because it's starting to decrease the effectiveness of the Adderall. So therefore allows your body to get in more of that relaxed state. Now, the fifth popular supplement that I've seen recently be talked about, and maybe you might not know about the supplements, maybe you've heard it from me if you've been watching this channel, and it's something that effectively targets dopamine, but more specifically L-Dopa, which L-Dopa helps improve dopamine. And that's Mucunaparines. Now, if it's used correctly, it can be beneficial. But the reason why this can make your ADHD worse, and you got to be really careful here, is a couple reasons. One is if, like I talked about before, sometimes I would say about 20 to 30% of the people that I will test, I will see that their dopamine levels are already elevated. And typically that's because they're already taking a medication that already increases it. And then you add Mucunaparines. Just like serotonin syndrome, it's not called serotonin syndrome, but it can cause the same kind of symptoms. When you have too high levels of dopamine, you're going to feel agitated, irritated, stressed, have heart palpitations. It just can make all your ADHD symptoms even worse when that is happening. The other reason this also can be an issue is when I do test, for example, L-Dopa, and it's something I definitely will not recommend if L-Dopa or dopamine levels are already elevated to begin with. But there is one additional supplement that is probably the most popular supplement that I see everybody in the ADHD community talking about and using it. And it's very dangerous and can be a poison to your ADHD. So you should watch this video next where I talk about that one specific supplement that is very popular that you need to be very careful and probably should not be taking. So watch this video next.